I am delighted to be joined today by Lamar President Jaime Taylor to discuss the open Director of Athletics role with the Cardinals. Dr. Taylor, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me here today.
Well, you are still fairly new to the Cardinal community. You're coming from Marshall, where you were the provost. Why was Lamar the right fit for you?
For me, the fit was I start off at each school I've been at has been very what I would call regional type school. Lamar maybe more so. It's because if you're familiar with the state of West Virginia, you got West Virginia University and you got Marshall, and so it kind of covers about half the state. But I was really even at that level. Marshall still the students that came there were from Appalachia, kind of like myself. I was a first generation college student. And so I like working with first generation college students, and basically Lamar fit that mold. It's a university that really is focused on Southeast Texas. A lot of first generation students have come through here. There's still a lot of first generation students coming in, and I like that regional feel and that undergraduate emphasis, so to speak.
Well, some of the core values that you have for Lamar are access, diversity, community, and excellence. How does athletics fit into your long term vision for the university?
So, in general, when I think of athletics at the university level, uh, I think about first the student athlete experience, and that's very important to me. My brother played college football. I've known lots of student athletes, and of course, as a physics professor, I had a lot of student athletes in my class. What I see athletics doing for those students is really providing that leadership opportunity. I've always said there's as much learning takes place outside the classroom as in the classroom. And having been a physics professor, I used to always tell the students, I said, you realize that being successful in life has more to do with your social IQ than it does with your IQ, which was always a little bothersome to these physics students because they had incredibly high IQs. But I was really trying to get them to think about working with people, being a team player. Uh, and that's what athletics does for you. It helps you to understand the importance of being part of a team, and also eventually becoming a leader in that team environment. So that's from the student athlete standpoint. That's important, but also from just the other students. I think it's great to have that tradition that you have athletics and that they are part of something like that. And the students get to come out and watch the football game, the basketball game, the baseball games, and I think that's good for uh, all students, not just the student athletes.
Well, in athletics, alignment is such an important term, having that right fit between campus and athletics. You have a reputation as a collaborator and as someone who really creates a culture of shared governance. How will this AD fit into your senior leadership team?
And so the AD is going to be a part of the senior leadership team. And I've already talked many times this year that it's not just on athletics to create that winning environment. There's so many things that the rest of the campus can do to help support athletics. And the best example I can give is at Marshall University. Uh, it was an amazing experience with their soccer program. It went from almost nothing to winning the national championship in 4 years. But what I saw when I went out to the soccer games is all the students that would come out and support the soccer team. And then we went to the national championship match. It, I can't. I still get chills when I think about it. You went looked in the stands, and the entire stands was all green. I mean, there was like a little red dot every once in a while, I thought the whole state of West Virginia showed up. But the players, when they were playing, they mentioned that several times when they got into that second overtime period, they looked into the stands and they said that seeing all that green helped get them to that finish line and winning. And so I tell the other leaders on campus that that's the kind of environment I want to create. I want to create an environment where everybody on campus is engaged with athletics, while at the same time, athletics is also engaged on the academic side. And I learned a lot about that from Marshall University. The AD there, Mike Hamrick, and I worked together so closely, and he helped me with increasing enrollment and getting students engaged in stuff. And of course, I worked with him on student success initiatives. And so anytime you get that cross collaboration, I think you can accomplish amazing things.
Well, if we had the whole state of Texas showing up to Lamar championships, that would be quite a bit of red. So that's exciting. Well, what traits do you value most in a senior leader with someone that you're going to be turning to for important decisions and issues?
There's two things. One, I will talk about the traits that I have in a leader, but then also, if you'd like, I'll kind of go down what I'm looking for in the AD.
Absolutely.
So in general, on the leadership team, I want people that are open-minded. I always tell people it's not that one idea is better than another. Like when we're talking, one idea is going to win. It's that intersection of ideas. Sometimes a part of one idea might fit with a part of another idea. And if you can have those discussions in an open environment where people don't let their feelings get hurt or they get too wedded to their idea and they're willing to listen to others, you can really come up with some amazing ideas. It also creates buy-in because everybody has a chance to make some contribution and everybody sees the problem from a different viewpoint. So that's very important to me, is to being able to have those open conversations. And again, not let your feelings get involved, but come to a general consensus. For the AD, I had Carr Sports come in recently. And so there were 3 former athletic directors that spent a week on campus, and they're still working with us. One thing they asked for, they said, what am I looking for? And I said, what I want you to do is I'd love for y'all to come up with a report that you can hand me and the new AD and say, this is what you need to do. And so when the AD comes in, they're not going to have to spend 6 months to a year trying to figure out what's going on. They're going to have a report ready and says, here's the things that need to be fixed, and here's your priority list. But with that, one thing they told me, and they were very adamant about, they're only here for one day. And they came in, they said, hey, Jaime, we got some good news, some bad news. The good news is it's fixable. The bad news is you've got some serious cultural issues. And so what I really need is an AD that can come in and be on feet on the ground in the Dolphin Center, which is our athletic center. The first one in there in the morning, the last one in there at night, and help create that culture to support the coaches, because they need support. They always say that coaches win games, administrations win championships. And what I take away from that is the coaches can't do it on their own. They have to have a supporting structure. They have to have somebody that helps them. And a lot of times it's really small things, but it's things that the coaches can't take care of. The administration has to do it for them. And so I want to make sure that I, as president, help create that culture, but that I get an AD in here that can help create that culture within athletics and position those coaches to win championships.
Well, based on what you know so far from the Carr report, what type of administrative background will be the best fit for Lamar's current needs? Is it a fundraiser? Is it someone with student athlete development? Is it a facilities, someone who has great experience building facilities? What do you think?
Definitely the second one that you mentioned there. What we need is somebody that can help, I wouldn't say develop coaches, but support coaches, but help with development of athletes, recruiting. I'll tell you, our basketball coach, Coach Brooks, just had an amazing recruiting class. And we had a long discussion about it. And what he told me when he came here, he said, I've watched Lamar from afar, and that a lot of times the head coach wasn't engaged in the recruitment efforts. That was mostly the staff. He came in and said, you know what, recruiting is important. I'm going to take the lead on this. He got his 7 A list players that he was after. He didn't have to go down to the B row or the C row. He got all 7 at the A. 3 All-Americans out of junior college, and 3 outstanding high school recruits. And so what I'm looking for from an AD is somebody that can help. I actually participated a little bit in those recruiting efforts, but I think the AD has to create that environment to help support the coaches as they recruit. Then they have to help support them as they're developing those players. And sometimes, again, it's small things. And I won't go into the detail of that. There's a couple of things that the coaches have already come to me for. And really, that, in my mind, they were very small, but they were, probably things that might have a big impact on whether we can win in the fall.
Well, Lamar Athletics does have some unique and intriguing challenges right now. If I am a sitting AD or a senior level administrator, a senior associate AD, a deputy, why would I consider Lamar as the next best step for my career?
To me, the potential is, there's almost no roof on it. We've got great facilities. We've got, in my mind, some great coaches. The things that need to be fixed are things that are they might be hard, but they're fixable. It's tough to say, oh, well, you're not financing it well enough. How are we going to get more money for that? That can be hard. You don't have the right facilities. Well, you got to build them. That takes several years. All the pieces are here. It's just about having that strong leader come in and our tennis team just won the conference championship in the WAC. Baseball's headed in that, could do that. I think we're right on the cusp, even though it might not look like it from far, but the recruiting is going well and the environment's starting to come together. I think the right AD could come in and very rapidly turn this place around.
Well, Lamar is headed back to the Southland Conference. What is the growth opportunity for the Cardinal athletic brand?
I've talked to the new commissioner of the Southland, and he's big on, let's talk about, when you say brand, it's one thing to talk about a brand, but who are you? That's what you're really talking about. What is the Southland? What's important about it? And I really see that there's a great vision right now for the Southland. It's very regional. I'd mentioned in my press conference that the second closest school in the WAC was further away than every Southland school. And so I talked earlier about the student athlete experience and the student experience. Now our student athletes can actually go there to the game. They don't have to fly one night, play one day, and fly back, which, let's say you're a physics major or a nursing student or pre-med. That's tough, missing 3 days of classes. But from Lamar, the brand, you look back at the early 80s, and they had the 80-game home winning streak. Those 4 years they went to the NCAA tournament. Every year they won at least one game, and the one year they made it to the Sweet 16. I think the potential's there for that to happen again. And I think, coming out with that Lamar brand of having winning football and winning basketball, again, I think we're right there, just right on the edge.
Well, you stole my next question, which was how much of a priority is it for you and for the community that Lamar Basketball returns to the days of coaches Billy Tubbs and Pat Foster?
Yeah, it's very important. The community really wants that to happen. And they've never had that really phenomenal football program. They have made the playoffs in the past, and they've made some, progress, but they really want to have that breakout season in football as well. And so both of those are incredibly important. Additionally, it looks like we're having a nice breakout season in baseball. Just beat Ohio University, and I was told that Oklahoma University, and Oklahoma University had their ace pitcher out there. We got 14 runs off of them, and so our baseball teams, it looks like they're having a breakout. But we've had a long history in baseball here that a lot of people might know about. And a lot of individuals like Kevin Millar with the Boston Red Sox is still very engaged with our baseball program. So lots of potential across all the sports, I think.
Are you open to non-traditional candidates, folks who maybe aren't in an athletic department right this second?
Yes, I am. One of the things I have seen, and there's going to be a committee, so it's not going to be me making that big decision. But one thing that I think is going to be important, they're going to have to understand the NCAA quite well. And Einstein used to always say, the way you win is you first understand the rules of the game, and then you play better than everybody else. So they're going to have to really understand the NCAA. What are the rules? What things, we have to stay in compliance. And then they're also going to have to help educate, the coaches on not looking at those rules as a disadvantage of how do we use those rules to our advantage. And it's just a mindset shift if we get that right AD in there.
Well, one critique of Lamar athletics lately has been that there's been a little decline in attendance. What is most important for candidates to understand about the Lamar fan base?
What I've seen, and I've been out with the alum, and one of the reasons why we're switching back to the Southland was the alums were so adamant about, the rivalries that they missed in the Southland. And hopefully that we can get more people traveling to away games. But what we're missing in the WAC was that rivalries and people, the games that were coming to campus or teams that were coming on campus, nobody really knew who they were. I'm going out to, been out to the baseball games. We're winning. The stadium is full. And what I'm trying to do is, what I'll be working with, as I said earlier, it's a campus-wide effort and a community-wide effort. we're going to be working on ways to promote athletics, because you can't wait until you're winning to get people to the game. A lot of times getting people to the game helps you win. And so I think it's a combination of improving our, you know, our winning ways, so to speak, in that culture, but at the same time, building that brand locally and getting people out to the game and coming up with some good promotions to get people out there.
Well, for those who don't know, Lamar is based in Beaumont, Texas. Again, you are still pretty new to the community there. Why should candidates consider making Beaumont their home?
So, as you said, I'm fairly new, 9 months. It's an amazing place. The people are very welcoming. Uh, you can just tell people love Lamar, the people around here, and they're going to be very supportive. They want to be a part of Lamar. And that's one of the things I've been working on, is bringing people back on board, because they want to be engaged. And I think you're going to find once some things happen here, we're going to start getting some really strong fan support and student support.
Well, last question for you, Dr. Taylor. You were a NASA faculty fellow at one
Yep.
point in your career. What is your moonshot challenge to your incoming AD?
Probably that challenge. Again, I tend to always. I'm optimistic, but I'm a realist. You got to be realistic and shoot for high goals. But how are you going to get there? Right now, I'm hoping next year we can have a huge turnaround almost immediately in both football and basketball. The recruiting class that Coach Brooks got for basketball was phenomenal, but now we got to develop that recruiting class. Then on the football side, last year we had an entire freshman offensive line and an entire freshman defensive line, which is, it's hard to win with freshmen. They're in the weight room this summer. We got them there all summer long. We got them a new weight coach, trying to strengthen them up. What I'm hoping is, we can pull both of those teams together and really, have a dramatic turnaround. My shot for next year would be to have the biggest turnaround in both men's basketball and football nationally. And I think that's a realistic goal.
That is very inspiring. And as you said, realistic.
Yeah.
Dr. Taylor, thank you so much for joining us and for giving us some really crucial insight into this very important hire for Cardinal athletics. We are very much looking forward to following along with this search.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.